the good old days. Being with you this time on a Saturday morning. We do hope that your day is going fine thus far, and as you go for the weekend, as the weekend continue to unfold, and you have to make some adjustments, you just go ahead and make them. All right. We want to just wish everyone who is celebrating today and during the course of the upcoming week happy celebrations. It may be a birthday, it may be an anniversary, whatever it is. We are happy to celebrate with you. And if you happen to be on the downside, you might be mourning the loss of a loved one. All right, our prayers, our thoughts are with you, and we are just, holding your hands and encouraging you to hold on. All right, we want to say condolences to Shefton. Okay, he has lost a member of his family, and also Tamisha, Coletta, and all the others. All right, our deepest condolences. Okay, John normally have his long list, right? Okay, so we did a fair, all right? But our condolences to anyone who is mourning the loss at this time. Okay, all right. We want to apologize, though, for the late start. And, as you would say, sometimes circumstances alter cases. Boy, and we really had some altering to do this morning, right? But it's okay. We had some technical issues to deal with, but we are here, and we are ready to go. All right? Yes, yes. Well, without any further ado, I would just want to extend once again good morning greetings to everyone. Good morning, Shefton. Good morning, Ren. Good morning, Paul, who I think plans to stay for Christmas. Okay. And yes, and our special guests for today, Miss Kenisha Lewis and Mr. Floyd Robinson. Good morning and welcome, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning. Happy to be here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Chesley, good morning, Ren, Paul, Floyd,
Yes,
my
sir.
classmate,
Yes, sir.
Kenisha, my student. It's good to have you. It's good to have you with us, and I want to say good morning to all of our good old days listeners and classmates. And yes, Chesley, I say thanks on behalf of the family. Yes, my whole long list of favorite nieces and nephews, they have lost their dad and granddad, this week, and my dear brother-in-law. So, but we are grieving, but we try not to be down. We try not to be down. We look for the bright spot in the whole situation, and we keep each other's spirit up. So I want to thank you, and even as I thank you, I say good morning to my list of favorites: Coletta, Tamisha, Claudia, Yodana, Tammy over there in Anguilla, and her children, Shamika, Kitara, Gustavia, and Owen over there in the UK. I say good morning to Aishinaya, Isaiah, Isariel, and Isaviel over there in Bonjour's Drive. I say good morning to Tinisha, Kaim, Kayan, Kiano, and Ajani up there in Ground of Circle. They belong to Tamisha. And I say good morning to my Dejeuner and my very, very favorite. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to keep up with a soda. Oh, she's something else. I love her. Good morning to you all. I say good morning to my dear cousin Ormin over there in St. Thomas. Jason as well in Anguilla. Jason and his family. His wife Connie, his children Cinia and Symphony. I say good morning to Denise over there in Maryland. I say good morning to my very good friend Lornette Piola Roper over there in the US. And well, I'm going to cut the list short there, so.
In England today?
The others, yeah, I did, huh?
Oh.
I say Owen over there in UK. So if I didn't call your name, you go, oh, wait, let me extend the list. Good morning, Rhonda. Rhonda Brown. Rhonda, you're still on my list. Not because I don't call you first, you are still on my list and you are still my very favorite. Good morning to you all. We look forward to have a good time of interaction today. And even as we say good morning and greetings and so on, I want to say a word of condolence to the Penny Forbes Pemberton family as they lay their loved one, Sharina, to rest this morning. The service should be taking place or maybe soon to start there at the Gingerland Methodist Church. Our hearts are with you. We understand what it is to lose a loved one, but we trust that God will keep you. And we'll not only trust, we know He will keep you at this time. So good morning, everyone. We look forward to having a great time of interaction here as we learn this morning. Thank you, Ren.
Thank you. Morning, Joe. Morning, Chesley. Good morning to everyone who's listening. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you very much for joining us. The Good Old Days is normally a learning experience, and so we welcome you. Welcome your comments. Remember, we'll let you know our numbers that you can call in a little bit, but we do want you to stay on with us. We believe that we have a lot to learn today. We got some teachers up in here. All right. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, Carol. Good morning, Denise. Good morning to all my siblings all across the world. Wherever you find yourself listening today, we thank you for taking the opportunity to be with us. And so, our numbers to call are 1-869-669-7312, and that's also a WhatsApp number. Or you can reach us at 469-7953 or 1-917-460-2187. Those are numbers to call and interact with us. Questions, comments, information, whatever. Be a part of the program today. And let me go around the table and welcome everybody, our guests. Paul is hoping to be here for Christmas, but for now, it's his last sit-in. He moves tomorrow, and wish him a safe journey, and we thank you for taking the time to be with us, Paul. We do appreciate and enjoy your engagement with us.
Indeed.
And we wish you all the best as you go back to Barbados. Look forward to see you soon again. And we have with us the ultimate water educator, Mr. Floyd Robinson. And as you spoke about Sharina Shefton, Floyd would tell you because he was once part of that community. She was a community person, and so we said condolences not only to her family but the entire community of Clegot and Cox. Right?
Okay.
Wish everyone well today. So welcome everybody. Kenisha, good morning, and welcome to the program today as well. Ladies first.
Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Floyd?
I guess it's my turn. Yeah. Yeah. Good morning. I'm really happy to be here this morning. Always willing and ready to talk about water. After all, water is life. You know, so I'm really happy to be here. And Chef, you know, don't say classmates and then say student, because you're giving away our ages.
Oh, that's all right.
I guess it's the good old days, right?
That's it.
that is true, but then nobody would ever make that mistake. I was going to say that, I had some teachers who was like an year or two older than me.
That's
you know,
true,
but nobody would put Kenisha in the bracket with us. So you are correct.
Yeah.
But Floyd has dealt with water so much. He age probably don't wash away, so he's still young.
There you go.
All right, thank you for that.
There you go.
Okay. All right. Well, we just want to continue to keep the folks of Jamaica in our prayers.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
And well, not only in our prayers, but within the reach of our helping hand. All right. So, we should really, join any relief efforts that, that are being spearheaded from our end.
Paul?
Okay.
Good
Right.
morning, everyone. Morning, Gwen. I was hoping to get to meet you before you leave, but that's not simply possible.
Yes.
However, thank you for having me on shore. And I graduated a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
I'm not officially a fool. I'm still wearing my shirts, but I tried to blend this morning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, many of us would have heard about our Chance Water project. All right. And if you haven't heard, well, you'll be hearing this morning. Okay. And so we're happy to have with us, well, Floyd, who has been a teacher, as indicated before, sports enthusiast. He has been engineer, at the Nevis Water Department, manager at the Nevis Water Department.
Well,
and then we also have, Kenisha Lewis, She's a teacher of environmental science,
Science, yeah.
Charleston Secondary School,
Yeah, Navy 6-1 College.
Navy 6-1 College,
Yeah.
right? But she has so much passion for the environment that I would dare to call her an environmentalist.
Indeed. But you know,
Yes, yes.
but you know, I want to think that Floyd is a little bit more than a sports enthusiast,
Yes,
eh?
yes.
Because he was a
That's
top athlete in his day.
Yes, yes,
He was a
yes.
top athlete in his days.
Yes, yes.
And I thank you, but then again, the good old days.
Yes, 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 yes.
Floyd, don't try to run away from anything this morning because you're trapped. We only speak truth here, right?
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, and just to
indeed.
remind you, our numbers to call 469-7953, 669-7312. All right. What Chance Water Project? Well, when we reflect on how much road we have covered with water is now running all day and so on. Okay, but the path, has been rough, really. So, Floyd, you want to reflect on the.
Well, yeah.
Yes,
Thanks, and good
yes,
morning to
yes.
everybody who's listening. When we started the discussion this morning, we were talking about, the days of carrying water. You have to walk with water for miles for some people. Some of the activities at the water collection places, we call them dams or the standpipe, whatever the names were. But we are miles away from that.
Hundreds of miles away.
Yes, sir. And it's good, and in a way it's kind of bad, because the bad side of it is that Navajans have always been conscious about water. I mean, the value of having to travel distances to carry your water. You get home and for some reason you accidentally knock over the water. I mean, it's a struggle to have to go back, and that one bucket of water would have so many different uses. Recycling. Those weren't words that we worried about. Those are things that we did. Sometimes I'm home and stuff, and when the main is finished, I hold on to it because it's almost in my DNA, that back in the day, especially when they were in glass bottles, we save that, But these days now, we have new things of solid waste and blah, blah, blah. We just kind of throw everything away. But in water, typically, we were conscious of. If I even make a comparison to our friends across in Sinkets, they always had an abundance of water. So that whole mentality of conservation was never really seeded in Kittitians. But we know that. So, as a matter of fact, that consciousness now forced us to have our cisterns, or any kind of catchment that it's in our development plan and stuff and so on. But again, the development has been so good that people are slowly starting to move away from those things that saved us in the past, and actually are still pertinent today.
Very pertinent.
Yeah.
Very pertinent.
I know one of the things, out of sixth form Shefton, I was in geography, and one of the places we looked at was always Bermuda. Same similar size island and stuff and so on. And 70% of Bermuda's water is from rainwater harvesting.
Yes.
Now they have drilling, they have desalination, they have all the other things too. But in terms of management, they're using that portion that is freely available. And you cannot build in Bermuda unless
You build a
you
system.
build a system. And so much so even the roofing material is of such a type that it reduces contamination. It's not just any kind of roofing material that is embedded, and they've been doing it. So we are trying to get to that direction, and so the increased supply in Nevis has caused us to step away from certain things.
Yes.
But I think it's just a management and enforcement issue, And so we have had, now this Transwater project, as a matter of fact, the official name is Transitioning the Water Supply in Sinkers and Nevis to a Low Carbon Climate Resilient Sector. That's a mouthful.
It is.
So we're going to stick with Transwater.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay, hold on the point for a while. But I want to ask Kadisha and Paul if they ever had to carry water.
Well,
Yeah.
home I can't remember we not having an abundance of water, but we did have a concept of our minds of the preservation of water,
Yeah.
and we had a lot of standpipes.
Okay.
Barbados had a lot of standpipes all over the place, so it wasn't difficult in terms of. And then back in that time, we didn't have much villages as far apart away from certain standpipes and stuff like that, so it wasn't that bad. Oh, I don't want to say bad, but as you explained yesterday, challenging. Yeah. So we can't speak to that experience.
No, I never had to carry water, but I have spoken with a lot of people who had to carry water. I learned about their experiences from maybe you might encounter what they would call, because that was their word, cantankerous people.
Mm-hmm.
Who force you out to
Miserable.
check. Yeah. And so you decide, you know what, I'm going to meet these people here, so I'm going over there to catch my water instead. They talk about like the challenges of getting the water in first thing in the morning and then getting home and getting ready for school and being in trouble if you're late for school.
Wow.
So I heard about all those experiences, and I did grow up when the standpipes and stuff in the community were still operational, and so one or two families may come and utilize them. But as indicated, for me as a child, there was already water in the house. There was my flushing toilet, and so nobody made up fake stories like apparently I can't tell that story, but people would make up stories to try to impress other people
Of
and say you
course.
have flush toilet in your home when you really didn't have flush toilet. So I've heard all the stories, but I didn't live it.
Yes.
But I know what the perspective of Navisions are. I know that we came from a background of conservation because water wasn't readily available, and our geography, the mountain landscape, yes, it does force water to rise and we get rainfall, but we don't have those undulating mountain and hillsides like St. Kitts does. So they got more rainfall consistently than us, and sometimes having that, knowing that you're going to have shortages, brought in that consciousness. So yes, increasing the water supply through tapping into our aquifers, etc., kind of brought many of us away from that idea of truly cherishing what we have with water, you know? Yeah.
Back home, when I grew up, we had no water toilets. That was a new addition for me when I got a bit older, you know,
Yeah.
like in my teens. But we had the pit toilets,
Okay.
and you had to go 6 feet deep.
Yeah.
And it was standard made 4 feet wide, 4 feet square, 6 feet deep.
Yeah.
That happened here in Nevis.
Yes. Oh yes, man.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Earlier.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
that
man.
standard is a typically Caribbean standard. As a matter of fact, as you mentioned that, when I first got back here and was managing the water department, as we looked at different environmental factors, Barbados was one of the first to start, I guess, for want of a better word, outlying the use of pit toilets, because their geology in terms of limestone was a problem, because
Leaching.
exactly, and water moves very quickly in that kind of environment. So
Yeah.
whenever, so a lot of contamination happens. So when they
We had that in Barbados.
and you had zones where you couldn't build and do certain things and stuff. So they were one of the first. And then as you go to different Caribbean islands, there's still some Caribbean islands who are using pit toilets. You know,
Here still do.
interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we have zones. We have like zone 1, zone 2, zone 3,
Yeah.
4. And you have to build certain way in certain areas. Like zone 1 and zone 2, it must have separate time filter bay, the whole shebang,
Yeah.
in order to
Yeah.
get approval for planning and stuff like that.
But when water started improving, as you mentioned, flush toilets, so that we had flush toilets and no water. So
Yes, Floyd, because while we spoke about the standpipe, because when we were growing up we had a standpipe too, but sometimes the water was the water was in the standpipe. Yes. That's how bad it was.
And so I think that, as we are making that transition, and again, some good things have fallen away, and we are trying now to go back to those things. And it is interesting, I know, I'm talking about the consciousness of Navision. I remember one year, again, I think it was 2005, terrible drought through the region. Happened to be in a meeting in St. Lucia, and we started discussing that, because in St. Lucia they use a lot of surface water, the Compton Dam, and that thing was so low, you started to see the roots of trees and stuff. And they discussing, everybody's talking about what's going on in the island, and I just sat there. And eventually the instructor, whoever he asked, well, Floyd, you're well quiet. I said, Nevis is fine. And they looked at me. And I said, we used to get a kind of response. It didn't take much to go on the air and said, hey, rainfall is down, consumption and conservation. And literally, guys, within days, tanks that we couldn't keep full, we just fill up. This is no exaggeration. And when I first saw it happen, I was really puzzled, and I was like, well, that's interesting. You fast forward to now that I'm back here and stuff, and I'm having that conversation with people, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like, what are you talking about? Because, again, the mentality has changed. We perceive that Nevis has water 24/7. And the Nevis Water Department does a wonderful job in keeping it that way. But at the same time, nobody understands what's going on in the background to maintain that. And so consumers now just kind of I don't use the word waste, they just waste the water. You know, we have pipes running, they when we're trying to do something else, you go into the shower, a phone call comes, the water keeps running. You know, we're now rinsing dishes with running water as opposed to have a container. And so we're trying to do a re-education process of getting people back in their consciousness to say, hold on, this is a finite commodity. I mean, globally it is. I mean, when you start to drill down on some of the numbers and you look at like less than 1% of fresh water globally is available. Now that argument, of course, supports desalination, you know, because we have all this water in the sea, but that comes with a whole other set of headaches, and like most things do, you know. But and you have to manage those things, and I think that our biggest challenge right now, in the past, now going forward, is really our management of, and that brings me to the point of the department that I'm now in charge of, is the Integrated Water Resource Management Unit, and that has a more bigger responsibility of looking at all the water in Nevis and really trying to manage the water to make sure everybody gets water. Our wetlands are one of the most not considered areas, and the importance of it, you know. So even that the wetlands need water. Like for example, we were discussing a project for agriculture, and we were talking about damming the guts. Great idea. But those guts are what feed our wetlands. So we have to design it in a way that if we take some, we don't take all, some still goes down to the wetlands. So, and trying to manage those things when it comes to physically spatial areas that, and Nevis is small, yes, but still challenging with some of the areas. Like I said, you know, I'm having a challenge to come up the steps, much less making it up to some of these areas. So those are some of the things that we got to implement to manage, and so that's what my unit. And just to mention, I have Donald Sargent, who is an engineer in the department. I have Inga Lawrence, who is my office manager. I had another young lady, Hazel Liebert, who wanted the department kind of snatched her. So we have a little fight going on for me to reclaim her. Right, young lady. But just, so right now, the unit is really still in its infancy, as we are trying to now put certain things in place to get to that bigger management state. For example, rain gauges. So disaster manages most of the rain gauges when I came, but that's important information to us. We need to know how much rain is falling to see how much is available for groundwater. We try and do the balance, not to extract too much, because one of the problems we are having is that you take out, because basically your fresh water under the ground sits on salt water. Salt water wants to come in. The weight of that fresh water is what really helps keep it down. So that's the basic physics of it. And if you're trying to now pump that water out, you take off, it becomes less, salt water comes up. And so what we are seeing now, in the earlier days before technology was improved, most of our wells are coastal. So back in the 80s when Canada, you know, did some drilling for us, we only had, our deepest well was 210 feet. Now we're going up to 700 and 800 feet, but they're high up in the mountains, away from that issue of saltwater intrusion. So basically, as we are now looking to see what Transwater brings, there's been like little mini projects that moves us, because as a small island state, we don't have a set of money sitting around to do these things for ourselves. And so you have CDB looking to give you some money, you have IDB, you have whoever. And sometimes it's the same thing they're saying with a lot of overlap, so you have to manage that too. You know, where you right now, for example, everything about climate resilience. You know, the whole world is suffering from climate change. And not like climate change wasn't an issue before, but all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, but because of our behavior, it becomes a global thing. And because the funding is international, we now have to kind of line up like everybody else and try to figure out how to get some of these monies. And this is why this project talks about climate resilience, because we have to formulate the project in a way that is climate related. So I can't go and ask for monies to just run pipes and build a tank. I have to now say I need that because of.
Yes, lady. This project is spread over both islands, right?
Singers and Nevis, yes,
Singers
sir.
and Nevis.
Yes,
Singers
sir.
and Nevis. Okay. And so
for-
there's continuous collaboration and as you move forward.
Yes, and I put it out there, and I've said it publicly before. You know, the social Singers and Nevis are different. We're very different. Yeah, we go together as a federation, but we're different. We have our challenges, and so our needs, our social makeup is very different. So those are some of the challenges that we have to deal with. But this project is a grant, $42 million, and it is $5 million of what's called co-financing.
That's EC or US?
US, oh no.
US.
Oh,
I'm just joking.
us. That's us. So
Yes.
we're almost at $50 million. So that's a lot of money.
Okay.
That's a lot of money. And, you know, with these projects, like anything else, even when you go to the bank to beg for a loan, you still have to put some money in. You know, so you wonder, well, I'm asking you for money and you're asking me for money. But it's skin in the game. So we have about $5 million of co-financing that the units, water department, governments, federal, local, that we put in. And that's basically, I guess, you know, on the human side, our salaries and certain things that we already have in place, you know. And so we have that. Now, right now, we are at this stage. So initially, this project was conceived back in, we've been talking about this since about 2020, to be honest. Again, you just don't walk in and ask for $50 million and you get it on the first try. The project had to be revamped. And I must give credit to the consultant that dealt with us, because she was the one that said, let's shield it inside a climate approach, a climate resilient approach. Yeah, it was a great thing. She's a Barbadian actually. Rohan is her, can't remember her name, but and so that was really great. We got it through. We are now in what's called the project preparation facility, and so a consultant team has been hired now to kind of put all the ducks in a row. You know, line up all this stuff that we want to do, make it make sense, kind of thing. I don't know if you guys remember, just earlier this year we had the public consultation, you know, and so people had a chance to say, hey, explain, you know, blah, 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 I agree, I don't agree. I find that with water, we don't get a lot of resistance. People just want more understanding, because again, people want water.
Yes.
It's not really, and that's I think one of the things for me about working in this sector is that you understand that it's not a joke, you know. As basic as it is, and water runs on the road and nobody bothers with it and stuff, the minute it goes scarce, there's a clamor, you know. And so what this unit and what water department in general is trying to do is to prevent that it going scarce. The public education is a challenge, but I think we have to keep at it. And I'm here watching Miss Lewis and stuff, because I warn you all, when it comes to water, I could talk all day long. Right?
Yes.
So, interrupt me.
Yes, I was going
We know that.
Yes, I was going to ask Kenisha though about the I think mention was made about the Green Climate Fund, right?
Yes.
The Green Climate Fund. So maybe Kenisha, you can just explain what is green climate? What we talk about green climate? What is that all about?
Okay,
Yes.
well, in general, we had a transition period where the earth used to function normally. Then we had our industrial periods, and now we're recognizing that through our alteration of the environment, we now have to use more green projects. So for example, when we look at protecting our coastlines, we could build a seawall, something made of concrete, that would be considered a gray approach, or I could use mangroves. Mangroves will be a much slower process. It's land reclamation at a much slower pace, but actually gives us more benefits in the long run to coastal protection beyond just, okay, we're going to stop the water from coming in. It helps with land reclamation. It helps to filter water, trap sediment, etc., which protects our deeper ocean. So the Green Climate Funding aims towards developing projects that help with climate mitigation, building in resilience in our systems as we acknowledge that climate change is occurring, but also hoping to pull back on some of those effects of climate change. So that is what many greening projects aim to do, as well as oftentimes built into these projects is empowerment of women. I would say from our perspective, the Transwater project does mention gender and gender roles, and but back in the day, I can tell you, everybody went out for water, male and female. But in some societies, the responsibility fell on women alone and girls to go out and get water and supply to the homes. So there are still some considerations, specifically when we look at water supply for males and females in school, etc. But overall, I can say St. Kitts Nevis and Caribbean generally has been more progressive when it comes to gender roles and responsibilities for certain things. So we're on our way. Yeah.
I have two questions for Mr. Walter. You mentioned earlier about the fresh water suppressing the salt water. My understanding of desalination plants was the concept of using salt water. How dangerous is it? Because what you said to me seemed as though it is not avoidable. It sounds that way. I'm not saying that, but it sounds that way. So I just want to understand the dangers of using salt water.
There is no real danger, you know. Okay, so the process of desalination is just taking the salt water and basically trying to remove the salt. So a process called, one of the processes, reverse osmosis. And so I try to when you try to strain something, you have your strainer, you know, stuff is left behind. But these filters are so small, it has to be small enough to extract the salt. And so on the other side, you get fresh water. Now, the process is such that it takes out everything. So pure water is not nice tasting. So you have to add minerals back. So that's part of the process where everything is removed and then you add back the stuff that makes it taste okay. One of the challenges, for example, if you're taking water directly from the sea, the ratio of volume of water versus what you get is very low. Might be only 30% of fresh water that comes out, say, you know, from what you use. So that's one of the challenges.
Your system doesn't have a booster? Some of them have the pressurized booster system and can let you recirculate some of that water.
And some of it, but a lot of time it's sent back to waste. But some processes have a recycling, so that waste is sent back through another time. Yeah. So that is one part of the challenge for desalination. The other part again, what you put in the waste is put back into the ocean.
Okay.
So the concentration is higher. So you have to now do it in a way that it diffuses in a way that it doesn't create a problem. Everything, I think most of the things we talk about in terms of the technology on paper, it's great. The management part of it, where the challenge comes in. If we're not going to manage whether those so-called diffusers, so back in the day, it was just an old pipe, like long time, just going in the water. Now you go out, and then you have a 90-degree pipe, you know, running 90 degrees to that one to diffuse. So the concentration doesn't drop in one location. It spreads out, and hopefully, you know. But again, if you don't manage it to make sure it's working, then it defeats the purpose. The other thing about desalination is that it is very energy intensive. The kind of pumps that you run to force that reverse osmosis process needs a lot of energy. It's some big old pumps. Say it that way, that hopefully folks will understand. The big old pumps. And so energy is the other thing. And that probably is the biggest thing against desal, is the energy consumption. Now, so you have that going on. Another way to decrease that is that you actually do wells. So we've gone from salt water now to brackish water. So that's basically in the concentration. And so the pumps don't have to work as hard. You get a bigger ratio of fresh water based on what you're taking in and stuff and so on. And as a matter of fact, so there's a desal plant down the road from the Seventh-day Church over in Butlers, and it's been running for a while. They haven't, I think at the end of this month it's supposed to be officially commissioned. But it's been running, and that employs two of the things I just mentioned in terms of on the positive side, is that the water, the wells are right on the beach, 90 feet, 100 feet down, and you'll be surprised, I was surprised, the concentration, the level of salinity is a lot less, even though it's right there.
On the beach?
On the beach. Right there versus going into the water. The guys were even commented that it was so good that the pumps are not even running at full capacity to deal with that concentration. So that's one of the good things. And the other good thing about the plant is that it's solar powered.
Okay. Okay. Because when you spoke about the energy that it takes, my mind went to that. So how do we mitigate? Because we're talking about green climate.
Yes.
You know, that is something to take into consideration. But so that's a good.
And that one kind of came along later because solar panels been around for a while. Some of the percentage conversion of energy wasn't so great. You know, now that we're increasing and improving, now we could get to that point of driving those more energy intensive equipment, pumps and stuff using solar. So that has now been so basically that plan was really a proof of concept for us. Now we do have it on Nevlex supply as backup because it produces more on electricity than it would on solar, on the solar panels. Okay. So we have that option. And we opted not to have backup batteries, so it can't run at night. It runs directly during the day. Okay. So if we want to, so it could run strictly on solar, it could run strictly on electricity, or you could have it set up in a way, program in a way that it does both. Because there's sometimes, for example, the cloud cover is so high that the plant just shuts down.
Okay.
You know, so that's one again the downside in terms of solar and stuff. That's why the batteries and then the batteries are very costly. So you have those kind of things. But solar desalination has come to a point now that, you know, some of the environmental concerns, you know, we have management techniques for them. Because I personally was never really a desal person because of the energy and the environmental impact. Yeah. And so when it comes to this Transwater project, a number of things are in there. Like I said, we're talking about some of these things since 5 years ago, maybe even before that. And so one of the challenge with any project of this size, as we're going forward, there's things that are going to be developed. Sync has already built a desal plant. They opted for one in the project. So as this project goes along, since Sync has already have the desal plant, of course that has to be taken out. Hopefully the savings could be put someplace else. We are, for example, on our side, we have this SCADA system. It's a fancy term for being able to see what's going on out there with your pumps using technology. The term actually is SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. So I could pull up the computer, look and see the pumping butlers is running. Yeah, I could see the tank has in 20 feet of water. So that's on the supervisory control part and the data. I could actually now go to the next level, that if I want to stop the pump because the tank is full, I hit a button on the keyboard, maybe 2 minutes for it to transmit, and you see the pump turns a different color to tell you that it's off. So we are already moving, and that one came out of a previous project called the Water Enhancement Project. So again, SCADA was discussed in the Transwater, but Nevis is already implementing that on a previous project, so there might be some savings. So I'm saying that to say when it comes to the project, because of the time period, is going through changes as to be implemented. But going back to your point about the desal and stuff, that's and Sync it's, you know, you could criticize as much as you want to about a choice that's being made, but they say, you know, who feel the pinch, you know. Yeah. And conditions are not accustomed to being out of water like we've been seeing in these recent days. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know you could be mad with anybody making a decision to do that. Like I said, in terms of the desal plant. But again, the management of it. And that is a big challenge throughout the region, where we get a nice fancy car, and about 2 months later, you know, we didn't take care of the oil, we didn't take care of the tire alignment, and it just, you know. So those are some of the challenges that hopefully units like this. Now, SIGIS doesn't have a water resource management unit, but it's also in this project for them to implement. So as we're going along, we're really now transforming some of the things that sometimes the speed of transformation is, you know, not what we would like. But Mr. Wilson and I just before we came on here was saying, you know, at the island factor, it's just one of those things that just takes a while sometimes for stuff to happen. But as we are now, again, encountering different generations of stuff, people who are more nifty about technology, hopefully, as we go along, we improve in terms of the management and not having to repeat some of these things as much as we have done.
So with the desal plant we have in Butlers, the water from that is being added to our system?
Okay, so typically in Nevis, whenever we do sources, we have a bunch of wells around the island, 18 of which I think are production wells, but there are a whole lot more. And we tend to, our system, we want to pump to storage tanks and then distribute. That gives us a buffer. So if a pump goes down, we don't have to panic too much because there's water in the tank already. Yeah? During a disaster, we tend to shut off this stuff, but there's water in the tank. And of course, if people conserve, then that will last you. Typically, we try to design for a 3-day. So if all the pumps go dead, you should have 3 days of water running. Typically, we try to do that. Now, the desal plant is, and then there's some processes where you pump right into distribution. So there's no tank involved. That pump is just running. Usually when you have designs like that, if you have a well somewhere, you may have 2, 3 for redundancy. So if one goes down, you fire up the next one, you repair this one. We don't have the monies to have redundancies and stuff. So and I personally prefer the approach that where we have the backup supply.
Yes.
So the desal plant pumps directly into distribution. So the folks in Butlers and I think as far down to Brick Hill are the ones who would get from that thing.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to mention about desal plants is that they're expandable. You know, you go there and you dig some more wells, put in some more systems and stuff, double the size, triple the size, and so on. So as we go into this, and again, the truth of the matter is, when you look at desalination, great idea. You have all this water out there, but we have, again, the costs, and we just discussed the cost is going down in terms of operation. The environmental impact is something we still have to watch. We still have to watch because
Concentration.
yeah. But so we are on Nevis side are trying to be very cautious about that. I mean, the plans we got was a grant from the United Emirates, one for Sinkis, one for Nevis, similar size. Sinkis opted not to do anything with that one and just going to build a brand new one, you know. But and I think that maybe I'm not sure what the reason was, but they decided to do that. And this was always part of their solution. You know, but yeah, that's so. In terms of Butlers, the immediate areas are the ones who benefit. We can do the redesign and have the water go up into a tank. We've been discussing that with water department because again, we don't want to have multiple approaches to what we do. If this is what we do, then this is the way our system is supposed to work. Put the water in the tank, because one the thing about, and I see the question, but one the thing we design our system, and it's going back from when Brian Kennedy was manager, is a ring system. So we are this close to the point of moving water around the island in which way.
Yes.
Yeah. So even though Charleston may be struggling, we do what we got to do, and the water coming from Ginger and nobody knows the difference.
Only those who know that it's there, because I knew of that.
Okay.
That you can shut off here and open there, and you still have water. Even before you bring to, I just want to say, in terms of you mentioned the backup system, and I like it because experience is a great teacher.
Yeah.
And we have done well. We have proven ourselves as an island when it comes to storms.
Yeah.
Because I know when there's a storm pending, water department goes and it turn off all the water.
Yeah.
It turn off the water. And when the storm is past, they check the lines. And if there are damages, they repair before opening up. And so there are some person who would be good to learn from that, because some people, they leave it on so you have water all through the storm. I mean, the storm don't know water there because damages. So that backup system is a very good one.
Question. I don't know Nevis that well to say. I know you have a marine environment per se. Like in Barbados, we have heavy beach culture. We have a lot of algae and all sorts of things we have on the water. People go swim with turtles and all that madness. I don't know if that's here in Nevis, but my question would be, how would the sediment, one, affect that? And two, based on what he was saying, what will cause the sedimentation in the particular area in Butlers to be much less than anticipated? What can cause that? Just basically on the environmental, yeah.
Okay, so you're talking sediment in terms of like soil runoff in particular areas?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a few things. My outlook is very strict with certain things, but at this time of year, when we get more rain in general, you may notice at Jones Bay, Oali, and those areas that the water looks a bit more brown, and it starts to clear after the rainy season. We do have quite a bit of hillside construction, and we only have sediment control requirements for large projects. So if it's a home or something, you may not have the same regulations and guidelines as a large, say I'm building a school or something else, a large project. So that is something that needs to be revisited, especially when the slope of the land increases beyond a certain point, to reduce that erosion, because one of the things that stops flooding in Nevis is we have a lot of guts and waterways that brings material down. And so this material is often brought down into the wetlands and the ocean, and with the reduction in wetlands that we have because people clear them out, they can't do the job then of filtering it to then protect the coast. Yeah.
I thought wetlands are protected areas.
Wetlands are protected areas to a degree.
Was the FEMA just passed recently? Oh.
Yeah, it's more recent. So for a long time, if it was privately owned or something, people could choose to clear off something if they didn't like it.
Did they understand
And
the
you can't
process of
own
it?
the beach, but you can be next to the wetland and decide to do something. And so we've lost a lot of wetlands in the region in general. We know that to be a fact. Sometimes it's government, not here per se, but we know it happens regionally that there are issues. And so if we lose our wetlands for whatever reason, whether it's direct habitat destruction or through other activities that affect them, we then get runoff, increased sediment material that then goes into the ocean. What we found in doing some studies, because we did specifically some seagrass bed studies along the island, in areas where there was a high sediment load, there's a process called ethylation where this plants will try to grow taller to try to meet sunlight, but they actually become weaker during that process because they're not photosynthesizing. So they give up some of the green pigment. They might put less resources into root structure and development. And just anecdotally, in collecting some samples to be sent off to be tested, I found in areas that had high sediments for longer periods, it was much easier to remove the seagrass seagrass samples because the root structure didn't seem as strong. Plus, you saw browning in some areas. And those are also very important habitats for many juvenile fish, for many types of things that we don't typically recognize that then build into our food webs and food systems. And they get removed for various reasons, sometimes tourist development, people say they don't like the feel, whatever it is, but they're fundamental to an integrated wetland ecosystem because your coral reefs work along with your seagrass beds, work along with your mangrove ecosystem, and they're working to protect and enhance each other. So when one is lost or one is severely damaged to a point, then we lose something else along the way.
In that $45 million, is there a package for training? I mean, educating the public on what you just said. I mean, you said an entire university class there.
Yes.
No, seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
No. You pretty much have the public to understand the dangers of what we do.
I have spoken with Mr. Robinson about public education, and he mentioned the importance of public education. So I have actively said to him we need to reach out at all levels, the schools, etc., younger persons, older persons who had this previous knowledge and experience, but we may not be passing it along to get us as an entire island, as a federation, to start to reestablish good practices and good behaviors.
I think that.
Stick up and let's say this call, please. Sure. Caller, good morning. You're on the good old days. Go ahead, please. Hello, caller, are you there?
Yes, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, guys, and good morning to Mr. Robinson, Ringo, and the young lady I'm not familiar with.
Kanisha Lewis.
Good morning.
Yeah. Okay, good morning to all. Mr. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
Ringo, boy, you made a point just now that I've been making all along because of experience. The solar system is a real good system, right? But I find it to be expensive. And the expense I have attributed to the battery system. You made that really clear because the government opted to go just strictly solar and not battery. The battery is better in the sense that you get more amp hour from the battery, and it takes less amp hour to charge the batteries. So the solar panels would have kept the batteries alive. And you would even have the option of going a little into the night when you have no snow, and a bridge over for if you have less if you have cloud days.
Full coverage, yeah.
Now what that does is optimize your production, but limited to the not using the not going the battery way because of a lack of funds. So I've been making that point all along, and people don't see some people come up against me with it, and I know that is a fact from experience. And you just pointed that out. You just pointed that out in real circumstances.
Well, first thing, caller. I know we're on the good old days, so anybody who call me Ringo is really from the good old days.
There you go.
You have to know me to call me by that childhood name.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing is that I think one of the challenge we have when it comes to decision making and finance is a big part of the decision making, obviously.
Yes.
As a small
Yes.
island developing state, I think we line up more for grant funds and international help than we really could afford, locally to fund some of these things. And so, for example, before this Transwater project, there was a water enhancement project, which I think it was a loan actually, so we are paying for that through CDB. So a number of the tanks you see, the big old tanks you see around the island, back in 2014 or so, were put in based on that project. Now here comes the Transwater project to take it to the next level. And so my point about that is that we got these desal plans as grants, yeah? And so we have that baseline established now for us to now determine what's the next step. The issue with the batteries and stuff for the size of that unit, you're going to carry some fair size batteries. Again, maintenance and that kind of stuff and so forth. We got to now put something in play. We just don't want to go buy some lithium batteries and then they fall on us and we don't know what to do. So there's a whole support system in terms of training and human capacity that has to go along with that. And this Transwater project actually brings that into play where increase human capacity, whether it's training or number of people. Like I said, my unit, right now we have work for 10 people, so the three of us. But when I was asked to come and get this unit started, first 2 years I was by myself, but understanding the importance of it, we figure, let's start laying the groundwork. So your point is well taken in terms of some of the benefits based on the battery, but I'm just submitting that that's just phase one.
Yes. Well, what I have to say about that is that in all honesty, when the premier came back from Wave and came back, I think somewhere in Africa, and he said that he was minister of, this is as far back as the Unity, and he was minister of foreign affairs, and
yes.
came, and he said that they got this, and one of the points he make is that I think he made is that this was a trial phase and they could learn from it. And
Proof of
that's
concept.
coming out. What you're saying there now is that is coming out, and I was kind of happy that something like that could have come to us, so we could benefit from it and be able to move forward in a more informed way. I heard you say that they didn't use it.
Caller, we're losing some of your words.
Yeah.
Please keep your phone with
Yeah.
you.
I have a question for them. On the record. Why don't they give it to us?
I'm not sure what it is.
Think it's you saying?
I think that would be a blessing. If they're not using it, give it to us.
Who should give what? Who should give what?
We lost some of what you said, caller.
I'm saying since Sinkits didn't use theirs and they
started from
invested-
scratch.
Oh no, let me correct that. They're not using theirs. Theirs in operation too. It's just that they.
Oh, it's not broken.
Yeah. It's just that they went and
Okay.
the one. Okay, so the capacity of water we get in on solar only, I think it's only 50,000 gallons, and I say only based on 50,000 gallons a minute or day. I'm sorry, I'm getting my units crossed up now. On power, we could double it up. Yeah. Compared to the new plant in Sinkers, the new desal plant is 2 million gallons a day. Yeah.
Okay, but
Okay.
you said that the donated plant in St. Kitts is up and running.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they did just.
I thought you said they opted to get their own plant and didn't use it.
No,
Because
well,
I
I
was
did.
In
thinking,
addition to,
Yeah,
I
additionally,
was
yeah.
thinking that would have
yeah.
been a hand me down. That would have been a blessing.
No, they're not gonna give that
But
one out.
they don't hand me down. They don't hand me down new things. They only hand down the old one.
My bad on
Okay.
the miscommunication earlier.
Yeah. Okay. All right, man.
Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Well, thanks for the explanation, because we have heard of the desal plant and all that, and this is the first time I'm getting this amount of information. And blessings.
Well, appreciate
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's what good idea is for.
Yes.
Yeah.
To inform.
Yes, indeed.
I don't know that. I mean, this is a part of the whole public education stuff, too.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Exactly.
and I think too often, you know, when it comes to what, well, I'm not sure what the reason is. I mean, Ms. Lewis talked about our conversation about doing this. I think it's becoming crucial now, and we know some of these things, but having a unit in place that looks at cross-sectorial activities now is hopefully, and it's been 6 years since this unit has been initiated, and the truth of the matter, and I want to say I have struggled, because again at one time it's just only me, but in conversation with everybody, we're now getting the process and the logistics shaped, that we could do the cross-sectorial talks. A lot of time it happens in other project meetings. We go sit for something else, and there is agriculture, there is tourism, there is so on, so we have, and so we just straight out the lines. Unfortunately, again, you know, the unit couldn't be staffed fully with everything for us to go and hit the ground hard and run it. You know, it's been building piece by piece, and I would admit to you, it's frustrating like anything else. I mean, you ask anybody in any sector right now, health or wherever else, teaching, boy, they're struggling. But you keep doing what you can, you know, because again, that is the nature, I think, of a small island developing state, you know. And sometimes we get upset, and yeah, we could talk about monies being wasted and all stuff, which is of course a good conversation. But overall, there's just a process, I think, for a small island state you just have to go through. And I think experience helps you to understand that, and you go home and you sleep it off and you get up again and you go back at it, you know. So that's basically where we're at. So there could be a lot of questions as to the whys of doing things, you know. And like I said, personally, and not to be picking on singers in terms of this plan, but when a man out of water for days sometime and stuff, you can talk as much as you want to.
Yes.
I gotta solve this.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Desperate measures, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I must say personally, I would say maybe what happened there? I like the efforts that have gone into focusing on making water available. Let me put it that way. I mean, I come from way back there when I used to go over the hill to go dip up water out the stream over there up a spring.
On the river?
Yes. 'Cause I live on this.
Yeah.
It's just over the hill. The spring is just over the hill from me. So we go over the hill and we, you know, get the water. So I remember all of that, and so I have seen much of a transition. And I guess from time to time there are little projects that come around. This is a good one. I remember a few years ago, before I left the service, there was something being done. I don't know if it came with assistance from Jefferson, but it disaster management was who was working with it, and it had something to do with water harvesting. And they were setting up. It was a project, and a number of schools were on it.
Okay.
I'm aware of it because one of my schools, Ivor Walters, was a part of it. St. James was a part of it. I don't know if JLPS too.
I think all the primary schools actually.
Oh, it was all the
yeah,
primary,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it continues. But I mean, I believe so, because I see the tank. I see some. I still see the Ivor Walters tank.
So talking about continuity, that project from disaster, it was actually a USAID project initially, and it was about just having backup supply.
Yes.
Okay, so if for whatever reason water goes out towards the school for the day, half a day, we don't have to panic and call the parents
and
shut
send
down.
home children, yes.
So we had that backup supply. Initially, it was only about 6 schools. And so with another project and the Water Resource Management Unit, we decided we're covering everybody. So we cover all the schools, security buildings in terms of the police stations, health centers. So everybody has been covered now. Some of the shelters, disaster shelters.
Okay.
Some of them have cisterns and some don't. And the idea again, and the reason I'm bringing up this again, in terms of ramping up the project, the next phase for us in water resources is to get the rainwater harvested as part of the project.
Yes. Well, actually, with that project, when they were working in the schools, with the disaster, when I heard of the project, that's the first thing came to my mind. Because, you know, a few of the schools have cisterns, but the cisterns have been out of use, some of them. So I thought they were going to clean those out and recommission them and say, because that's a good, because, I mean, gallons and gallons and gallons of water go to waste when rainfall.
My classmate, St. Thomas's has 16,000 gallons of water under a classroom there. That school is they celebrated 50 years the other day.
Yeah.
Canadian government, I think there was one in one in St. Kitts.
1 or 2 in St. Kitts, Irishtown and Newtown.
So we went around again looking at these projects. So in some cases where they had no cisterns, we were putting the black tanks. And I was over there pumping out the water out of St. Thomas's tank. And what amazed me as an engineer, I don't like to refer to myself as that and stuff, but
where you be?
but when I got inside the classroom, you know, the teacher was glad to have us there. We went like a day before, able to just see where the access to the cistern was and stuff. And I went down inside there. The classroom is 24 by 24. And I remember these details. I'm remembering these details because of how it impacted me. Now, if you're in construction or any type, you would think a 24 by 24 would need some support in the middle and stuff. There was no support down there. You walk in the classroom, there's no vibration. Because typically without support, you will get some kind of echoing. Or the cistern is 24 by 24, it's 5 feet deep. When I did my quick calculation, it's about 16,000 gallons of water. And it's not leaking, because the water has been sitting there for years. Yeah? I didn't test it when we because the spoutings were down.
Yeah.
The roofing actually has to be changed too. You know, they're that dilapidated. But the cisterns, they're sitting there waiting, saying, look, y'all hurt the way y'all do it. I'm here waiting. Yeah? And saying that, so when we assess some of the schools, rather than putting the tanks, use the cistern.
Okay.
Joycelyn,
Live
I tend to use the older names, good old
Gingerland.
Gingerland Primary was
yeah.
one of the ones that we went up and we used the cistern there.
Clean out the cistern.
And so forth. And so because I think Ivor Walters Primary has 2, one at the top, one at the bottom.
Yes.
When I checked them and I knocked down one, I almost had to go chain myself to the cistern in protest. Say, you don't do that. Because
They knocked down one, you say?
They were thinking about it.
Okay.
You know, and they're leaking, but those things are easy to fix. Yeah. So what's happening, I think, mentally with our mentality is that for some reason we're seeing whatever infrastructure we had in place because it's quote unquote old. It's not old, but it's from a previous time frame. We're now saying that, well, boy, that ain't no good again for now, and that makes no sense. I don't know where the mentality is coming from. A catchment is a catchment.
Yeah.
One that has been built. The tank at Hamilton that distributes to Hamilton area was built in 1904. When you get up inside the tank, you could see the different uses of material to get up. There's 3 levels inside it. I think it's 18 feet deep down in the ground. And all it needed was a roof. And when I came back and again, they talk about, I said, y'all got to be bad. We're not doing that. So a new roof has been put on and stuff. That thing is just shy of 400,000 gallons of storage. And for me, you know, the historical part of it, you could see these are the guys who used physics to do stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
You would take the animal dung and you would heat up the big stones and you run into them and you pour water and then boom, they crack. This is back sledgehammer days. This is no compressor with no jackhammer and stuff. There was none of that. And they got it done. You know, so when you look at that and stuff, that monument, I use the word monument, but that's what it is. That should be saved. But again, going back to the public education, nobody knows. So this is an old tank and an old roof. Because all you've seen is just a good maybe 4 or 5 feet of the ground and an old roof on there. So that looks like a eyesore, and people say blah blah blah.
But it's also a historical teaching point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things you just said that we are not aware of. There are a lot of things you said in terms of the levels that within the same tank that I don't even understand the concept of the levels when it comes to water storage.
And the levels I'm talking about is the physical building of the tank. So
Yeah,
at one point it
yeah.
was built maybe 5 feet, and then when we get money or whatever, we take off the roof and we bring it up again. And they got columns. You could see the columns, and you could see the type of materials based on the period of what was available. You know, and so there are times when and I think that, like anybody else, Miss Louise is here in the conservation and historical science. When you go to these places, you just sit there and you go, wow, because it's just taking you back, and you kind of just imagine the activities surrounding.
We have appreciation for things.
You know, but the challenge is, again, as we were talking about wetlands and stuff too. As we were talking about wetlands, it's not an easy sell. You have to have some real good understanding, you know. And I try in terms of that. Explain to me why a wetland is so important. Miss Lewis could do it in 2 seconds, right? I go now and I'm like, because I manage and it overlaps, and they mention, yeah, wetlands are important, and then they ask me, you know, I carry it over as well. And the benefits of wetlands, for example, is over a period of time. This is not just immediate benefit. So when you now look at 20, 30 years, who is bothering about the benefits that can come 30 years later? But when you look at the impact of removing it 30 years later, that is kind of the reverse thinking. And now you understand the importance of it. So the education is definitely important.
Let's take a call, please. Good morning, caller. You're on the good old days.
All right, I had to call back again because Mr. Robinson's account of the structure of that system at Hamilton. I mean, I grew up in that area where my mother comes from, and I know that tank from as a child. There was no way for me to know that tank was 18 feet.
Yeah.
Caller, please position yourself that the wind is not taking away your signal, because we're getting more wind than your voice.
Okay, I get caught between a rock and a hard spot. They move away from the device and to come out in the outside. Okay, so I would see that and I would marvel as to how a system that size that you could see from when you're going up the road, you could see control that not knowing that the system is 18 feet deep. You know, I mean, this is pretty informative. And even Floyd, who grew up in the area, he has gone into the job that he's gone into to make decisions. And as a result, he could share the information that was over my head all this time. And when I heard about them, well, they abandoned the system for all this. And when I heard they were going to just put a roof on it and go again, I thought, you know. So, and I thought, well, good, because conservation. And now I'm getting to know the real root of the problem is that the system is the water of the system. I mean, just share 400,000 gallons is
awesome.
You know, think of the money. Think of the money you're saving when you build a new system. You continue with the old one.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller. Yes.
Good morning, caller. You're on the good old days.
Yeah, good morning to you guys, man. Good morning to the listeners.
Morning.
Robin, the waterman is still there, right?
Yep.
Any questions, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how you doing, Floyd, man? That's Floyd, right?
Yes, sir. Doing well, thanks.
Yeah, good morning, man. How you doing, man?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, some quick questions. Let me get straight to it, man. The Nelson Spring there at the bottom of Cotton Ground, right? Has the government tapped into that water source yet? And if not, why not? At least, and I'm going to ask you, that Nelson Spring there, how wide of an area can that spring provide water for? Would it be able to supply water for just Cotton Ground? a wider area? Can you say a little something to that? We have a natural resource there, and we know that they're battling the water. But what about putting that water into the grid, and at least take some part of Patton off of the public grid? And Lo- um, location. Let me drop something as a comparison between the desalination plant in Nevis and the ones on Sinkis. Me personally, I haven't heard that they have put. I didn't hear that the ones in Sinkis are really online right now. But I think I just heard you said that, and we haven't heard. I personally didn't hear an announcement from the Sinkis end, but I'm listening to you carefully this morning. So let me ask you a question about. I noticed the location. I'm talking about the locations right now. The ones in Nevis are over there at the what, Whitehall area.
Butlers, just below the SDA church, seaside of the SDA church in
Yeah.
Butlers.
Okay. Okay. So and then the one in Sink is right. I don't know if I'm correct, but you can correct me. The one in Sink is right. They're gonna be pulling water from the harbor. Is that correct?
One is pretty close to the Deepwater Harbor. The major one is, yes.
Okay. So I've been listening to another podcast, right? And the guy on there, he always referred to that, right? And I'm just gonna ask you a quick question for the listeners. Does it really matter where the water is pulled from? Because in the harbor of Sinkis, we say the Deepwater Harbor, we know a lot of boats comes into that area, and the exhaust from the boats, like the oil, whatever that come from the boats, is that anything? We know this process is
Yeah, good
very,
question.
in depth. Is there a concern where the water source is pulled from? Because I mean, is the process of this reverse osmosis, is it so perfect that it doesn't matter where the water is pulled from? I mean, we can have an area where the water is coming from a clean source, or another source that's probably seems to be like like a toxic source or something like that. Does it really matter at all? Is the process can take water from an area that may appear to be polluted? That's the word I was looking for. Polluted. Does it really matter? Does that really matter at all? Because I keep hearing this on another podcast, and I want to dispel that from my own knowledge.
Okay.
You understand what I'm getting at, right?
Sure did.
And wait, let me get back to St. Thomas's School. Do you remember which classroom that access place was? Because I vividly remember something like that with assistant on one of the classes there. I can remember. I can't remember where exactly inside the buildings.
I'm not sure what
Are
grade it
you, are you
is,
privy?
but as you
Yeah, what grade? Yeah, I
as you
don't.
come in under the
It might have
apron,
been. Yeah, it might have been the first. Is it the first class when you come under the apron and you enter? Is it the first class right there on the right
on
side?
the right side, that's correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, grade 6. That's grade 6.
Okay.
Grade 6.
Very waste of money.
I got you. Is the building facing the road, right? The
That's
side
correct.
of the.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because I could vividly remember that. That's grade 6. Anyway, man, great discussion, man, and I'll just keep listening, man. I'll keep it there for now.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me deal with the Nelson
Yeah,
Street
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
and then
thank
Mr. Wiss, if you.
Yes.
You want to talk about the pre-treatment?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So Nelson Spring area and stuff, and it's going back to the comment I made about fresh water, of course, some of it runs on the surface. So everything in terms of hydrology is up high and trying to get low. What's on the surface moves faster because it has less resistance. What goes underground is slowly migrating
time,
and
yeah.
depends on the geology, which we have no idea what's where. So there's, different rates of moving, but it's all heading towards the ocean. As it gets closer, so basically if you think about it, you would see what we call a lens of fresh water, and it basically has the shape of the island. And then the salt water, which is a similar shape, but a little flatter, because that weight of the water is keeping it down. But as you get to the coastline, they get closer to each other. Yeah?
They know.
So when you see, like for example, you have farmers, and I have people discuss about those wells that were coastal. You don't have to dig too far to find fresh water.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, because
That's
it's
true.
right, a lens of fresh water is sitting right on top of that salt water. So that's where you find out to abandon wells, because at the time when you're hand digging a well, you can't hand dig 700 feet. Making no sense. So you go, where the work is less. And that's where you find those areas are coastal. Now, so you have that lens. So if we're going to get into the Nelson Spring area and try to take off that lens of water, again, the saltwater intrusion comes into question. Because Water department has moved from the wells that had 30 gallons a minute, 50 gallons a minute, up to 300 gallons a minute now, in terms of cost benefit. We have actually given up wells that not producing a certain amount of water. There's over the hill from you, Shefton, in your river, there's a well that was dug there, and when we didn't find as much water as we need, as we would have liked, and it's about 10 gallons a minute. Agriculture could deal with that. Water department is not going to put a $5,000-$7,000 pump down in that for 10 gallons a minute. Yeah,
that makes sense.
So here we are now in terms of the amount of water we can get off of Nelson Spring. What the bottling company is getting off is really minuscule compared to what we would extract. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are now looking at areas like that for that purpose. Now the other purpose, again, because of the cross-sectorial thinking or purpose of the water resource management, agriculture. Cades Bay is a big agricultural area. There's a technique that we call, so you basically have vertical wells and you do have horizontal wells. Yeah. Right now, for example, when you get around there by the Malcolm E. Gishard Park, you would see a structure that's painted just on the left side before the bridge.
In the corner.
Yeah. Okay. That is part of what's called a trench well that we feed Four Seasons with. So instead of having a vertical well, it's horizontal.
Oh.
So you basically trench out the area and you put corrugated pipes in there. They have holes in them. The water seeps in. They're at an angle too, so they run into some sump wells. So you have a vertical well. I can't remember how deep those are, but the water basically runs in, catching a catchment area, and that's what we pump from to give Four Seasons. And the water is brackish; it's not fully clean water, but that's for the irrigation. So the plants them can survive, and they plant things that would withstand that kind of stuff. So that's what's going on with the trench well. There's the option for that in New Nelson Spring. There's the option for that. There's actually a trench well over in Potworks area. When the farmers used to, there's one there. We went testing it the other day, trying for the farmers been asking. So we have infrastructure that's in place, and we just try to revive some of them. So Nelson Spring, we are not looking to do a lot over there, especially when it comes to potable water. Like I said, the option is there for trench well. Now the problem again with the trench well takes up lateral space. Private land, you have to go and negotiate now, and you could cover it back over. But still, you have to negotiate and get infrastructure and stuff in place. So that's basically with the Nelson Spring situation and why we're not using it for potable water, say for the immediate areas. And there's a lot of water over there. You scratch on the surface, the water shows up. The water is really shallow. You know.
Yeah.
Like you wanted something
Can we put the desal plants any place?
I remember asking some of the workers at the plant, and they said that very same thing. You just scrape and the water pops right up. So.
Oh, wow.
In terms of nesting, the water table is very high over there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's why when you have some of the flooding issues.
Some of the construction.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other question about the desal plant, of course, honestly, if you have enough money, you can put whatever you want to wherever you want to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Take a minute. Friday
Sure.
call, yes.
Good morning, caller. You on the good old days?
Good morning again.
Yes, go ahead,
I
please.
could vividly remember when the trench well was being put in on the Brian Kennedy back in the day. And this is like, I think 80s, early 80s maybe even. I mean, that trench well was the longest for 4 seasons. And it comes to a head. When you just before you get to the Malcolm Gishard Center, on the left-hand side, you see a concrete. That's right there. Von Hansen did some painting. And that's where the pumping system is. It comes to a head there. And they dug that trench well, they put in corrugated like pound stone, the pipes and then the pound stone over it, and then with the water in that area, the water table is really high. So the water just goes into that pipes down to the wellhead, and a significant amount of water. The other thing I found out from a good friend of mine back in the day, Mike Harburn, blessed memory, he told me that there are some wells that are dug, deep wells, and the water temperature is so high in those wells at the abandonment, because the pumps that they put down in those wells, the pumps use the water for cooling, and if the water is that hot, not long before the pump burned itself out. So they had to abandon wells. So there's a lot that goes into the resources that go in, and sometimes you don't get returns. All this is taken into consideration, and it adds to the cost of getting water here in the US. And a lot of us are not aware of it. So conversations like this are invaluable.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yes, sir.
And so, thank you, Mr. Robinson and Miss Lewis.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
caller.
caller.
Just to add real quick to what the last caller talked about. So there are actually three, we refer to them as wellheads. There are three sections. I think only two we have pumps in. There's a third one. So that trench well runs all the way back to the corner by TDC. From TDC all the way up to the Malcolm E. Gishad Park. Yeah? That's how wide that area is. And what you see, there are two structures there, just to clarify a couple of things, not major, but, and so Mr. Ansley would have painted on, basically on the pump house. So the well is circular, sitting next to that. That's where the water and the pumps are. There's submersible pumps, and that's a great point that he mentioned. When you have pumps that are above, they have fans and stuff to cool them. Submersible use the water, as the water flows by, it takes the heat away. But if you, as he made a point in terms of areas where there's hot water, then it doesn't really benefit. The water does more damage to the pump than anything else. Of course, there are pumps designed for that. You could have pumps that run in different environments. But you have that trench well. And so their number is, like I said, the other one over in the Potworks area. That's there. We have tested the water. Quality is not so hot, but then we're looking at that for agriculture. Going back to the desalinations issue where the plant is located, and again, Singis has two plants. So one is just being constructed. The other one that was similar size for as the one that we have, that was donated by United Emirates. That's over in Canada area, I think. Yeah, and that one, I think, based on what, and I can't dive too deep in Singis situation because I don't have all the details, but based on the timing, both of them should have been, as ours is running, they should be running. That's the smaller plant. The one in town now, and all of these desal plants have what's a pre-treatment phase. So you just don't take the water and try to force it through the filter. You take it, you do some stuff with it, where they have to add chemicals to get rid of some of the potential impurities that was mentioned and stuff. So there's a pre-treatment phase. Then it goes into the filters, because your filters are expensive. You can't just take any stuff. And these sea intakes bring in all kind of stuff. Even fish would, if a fish swims by and he gets himself in trouble, he's going up the pipe. Yeah, he's going up the pipe.
Okay, early fish water.
Yeah. And then of course you have all the debris and stuff. And then right now Sagasam has been plaguing us more than before and stuff. So, and as much as you have strainers, there some things will get in. And so you have that, you have pre-treatment, and then you go on to the processing of removing the salt. And like Ms. Lewis made mention earlier, there's a recycle. So some of that water, that wastewater, gets a second pass to extract how much, how much water
And
you
then
can
the
take.
energy from pressure that is there too, you want to keep some of that pressure loss because you're using that.
And so the question about being in the harbor, yeah, you have some issues, but I think they would have designed it to compensate for some of those stuff.
Good morning, caller. You on the good old days?
This is
Ren, Mr. Robinson, please forgive me, but man, I'm listening intently, and this is information that Mr. Robinson just mentioned.
Caller, just like you are hearing us clearly, we want to hear you clearly. So please position yourself that, just like you are hearing us clearly, we want to hear you clearly. So go in the living room and sit down, so you don't have no.
I'm in an area where there's not much wind, so I think you should hear me.
Okay.
Well,
Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me clearly?
You're better. Go ahead.
Yeah.
As my mother would say, keep your hand just so.
I was saying, please forgive me, but I've been listening intently, and I just heard Mr. Robinson said that fish could be picked up in the pipe. I thought the water, the collection, the intake was from wells. I saw 3 wells inland, and I thought that was a good idea. But you take water directly from the sea as well?
Which plant are you talking about? Not ours. Ours are well-based. The ones in Sickles is what sea intake. That's what I was making reference to.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
that's
big-
Those be the
this
water
a-
part, the harbor.
that's
Yeah, that's the one. And I kind of exaggerated about fish because they have stuff to prevent. Maybe some small fishes. They know.
Sardine.
Yeah. Maybe small. Yeah, the ones.
Sprat.
I know.
So
I
both.
get the idea, but the difference was that I thought I know no fish will be in the wells, and I knew that they did well. They took taking it from the well here in Nevis.
And the UAE one in Sinkers, so they're both well supply. Only the big one in Bastia, which is not yet commissioned. Just as the caller was asking about that 2 million gallon plant, 2 million gallons of their plant in Bastia has not been commissioned yet. Until they try to aim for Christmas. But that's the one that has a sea intake.
Okay, well that's what I was concerned about, and I'm concerned about them putting that in to pick up water in Bastia in a commercial harbor. You know, I mean.
We'll have to invite them
Anyway.
on the good old days for them to defend that one. I wouldn't dare try to.
To defend it.
There might
Yeah.
be different
I mean,
motivators.
with the kind of coastline, and I was quite impressed with the choice of spot here in Nevis too. So
Yeah.
I mean, and as opposed to the one in St. Kitts, you wonder about that.
Well, I
Anyway.
think all the details are pertaining to the decision. I mean, even for me, as the good relationship I have with Sinkers, I don't know all the details. And sometimes it's easy to criticize with, when you see something on the surface level. So, and I've worked with them. So I think, based on the information they have, they made the best decision.
Apart from working with them, really, I am reluctant to jump and criticize if I don't know the entire ins and outs.
Yeah.
I would more complain of not getting enough information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
caller. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Dr. Robinson, well, Alpha.
He sounds nice, huh?
Yeah, he's the doctor of water, I was privileged to be at a symposium where you addressed water, and I raised a question that I was not satisfied with the answer, because I suppose there was not enough time.
Did I give you the answer?
You did give an answer.
Oh, are you okay? All right.
But I was not satisfied that you were able to go into it as much as you'd like because of time.
Okay.
But you have made reference to it several times for the morning, and I'm satisfied and more informed. My question was in relation to something Shefton mentioned earlier. We have millions of runoff water when we have rainfall. Yes, we're not having as much rain as we're accustomed to, but there's still millions of gallons of water that run off every time we have rainfall. I was wondering if there was any study going into trying to harvest this water. I mean, we boast in Nevis about guts that carry. I as a child growing up, I remember, going down to the gut, and sometimes the water is so high, you can't venture into it, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about places where the water would settle, where it's not necessarily running high, rushing. But a lot of water go down to the sea. Has there been any study going into how we can harvest some of that water?
And they have been. And as a matter of fact, agriculture has something, climate resilient agriculture, where they're looking at, damming some of these guts. I was scrolling through my notes here. This Transwater project actually speaks to that too. And so the challenge for me with the guts is, again, the balance between the runoff and wetlands as a source, finding the right area to do these dams. Because, people, for example, would see the Bath Stream in the Bath Stream area and talk about that. Now, where are we going to dam the gut that far down? Now, I have a concept that I say, of course, money, you could do anything if you have money. So then it becomes costly if I decide to buy out that area, do a dam, and whatever infrastructure necessary to return it to, So for us, it might be easier to do that higher up. Now, where is higher up? Higher up could be up in the recharge areas of some of these aquifers that we have you know. So those are some of the things that we'll have to do. So we have some smaller studies being done to look at certain areas. One of the things that came out of the agriculture discussion was the Cades Bay area. Don't know if you guys know about 6 catchments up in the Cades Bay area that back in the day used to feed the farmers down below. 6 earthen dams. One actually has a concrete face. So when you think of a dam, that's where you see somebody blocked up and there's a concrete face. Some of them are just catchments. And it has a spillway, I mean, well designed and so on. And the way they did them is that they run into each other. So when this one is fully overflows, go down. So there's 6 of them in a series. And the idea back in the day is that water was taken down to the Cades Bay area, you know, in the area where Danny Atherton is and other farmers at the bottom of Cades Bay. Again, the flip side of an improvement water system is that, and plus the degradation of the pipelines for that system, it was easy to just hook onto the water department and you get your water at the time when we had a surplus. And so those dams are not being used. So we are trying to get back to that. So short story is that there is a project in that, and again, we have to do it piecewise. You know, there is no project to come in and say, look at all the guts in Nevis, you know. So there's over the hill from Shefton again is one of the areas that used to be, and the so-called devil copper, isn't it?
Yes.
The area there is not springing up like it used to. Now, is that because of the lack of rainfall and stuff? We're still not quite sure. We have had discussion where because of the quarry that's up top, we have had accidents where stuff dump materials down inside, they clog up the spring. And that one, in my estimate, is one of the most challenging areas because to get down inside there, I tell you all this morning, I struggle to come up these steps. You know, I can't get down inside there. I might have to send me slowest down there. Because, yeah, she's a student, she's younger. So, but those are some of the challenges that we are having where traditional sources are not what they used to be. Okay? And, but, you know, those of us who are old enough to remember when they were good, we keep pressuring to say, hey, and rightfully so. You gotta now explain why when this was working so well 30 years ago, how come it now work well now? You gotta explain to the people.
It's still owned by the devil?
Were the devil there?
That may have been one of the problems.
No, that might be one of the problems. Go ahead, Mr.
Definitely one not good for you.
Some other challenges in those areas, right, is like after Hurricane Hugo, we know that the wild pigs went out.
Holy thought, Kanisha.
Yeah.
Good morning, caller, in the good old days. Caller? Hello, caller, we're not hearing you.
Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes,
No.
go ahead.
No.
Okay, let me get straight back to Mr. Robinson there. When I was a little boy, right, it was wells there was some wells I know all over Nevis. Is all of those wells, did they go back and look at those wells and update them so that they can be in commission? And I remember that there was a well, I remember there was a well, I'm getting a lot of feedback, a lot of like noises.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, like I was mentioning, when I was a little boy, I know there was a lot of wells around Nevis. Did the government go back and look at those wells and bring them, like updated them and put them online? I remember specifically there was a well behind that small golf course at the top of the hill by Cliff Dwellers. When you come up on the hill by Cliff Dwellers and you go past that little small golf course on the right side, when you're going that way to the airport, you're coming from Cotton Down, going towards the airport. And on the top there was the small golf course on the right hand side. There was a well. There's a small bridge right there. It's a small bridge. A lot of background noise. A lot of background noise. I can't hear myself.
Go ahead, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay, now it's much better. Yeah. Okay. Like I was saying, right. When you're going from Cotton Down going towards the airport, on the right side there in front of the entrance of Cliff Dwellers and going beyond, by the small golf course on the right side, and then there's a little bridge there, and then there's an entrance on the right side, like a dirt road. It was a well behind there. I don't know if you guys know about that well. we used to go back there and get water back there, as well as we use the well at Nelson Spring. I want to know if Mr. Robinson there, if he knows about that well back there, and any other wells that was back from the old days. Did they put those wells in commission? And let me get to some basics. He said the water that was underneath the St. Thomas's school, the class there, was sitting there for a long time. So I want to ask him, when water sits for a long time, does it go bad? Does water ever go bad? I mean, does water has an expiration date? You know, can he speak to some of those fundamentals? And we see that in America, they don't really catch the water from the sky. Do he think Nevis would ever get to a situation like that? And that's called what, acid rain or something? Can he speak to some of those fundamentals? Can he speak to some of those fundamentals? And for those persons who have the private residences and have systems underneath their house, do the water department goes around and continually check those water? And can he give out a phone number? You know, because I would like to get in touch with somebody, because I got a house named Cotton Ground, and I want to make sure I set up my system. You know, I don't know if water is inside the system. I need to get a local number to somebody that I can talk to about my own residence, and to make sure that my system, you know, get properly set up, and the catchment is whatever water is under there. If it's okay, can he give out his number by any chance, please? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Before you go, hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Those wells that you're talking about, big wells about 10, maybe 8 feet in terms of diameter, big wells that back in the day we used to dip a bucket down and pull up water. When you say wells, that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
The one that I'm referencing over there behind that small Gulf Coast, behind the Gulf Coast there, Cliff Dwellers, is just like the one at Nelson Spring, the one that we used to go down and dip the one at Nelson Spring. I saw that they sealed it off. They sealed it off right now. I mean, why did they seal off the one at the bottom of Cotton Ground? Why didn't they allow the residents in the area to still continually go there and dip that water up for their personal personal use or whatever? And let me ask another fundamental question. Plants. I know plants are living organisms, right? Just as well as a human being may not want to intake salt in like, you know, massive amount. Salt water from the sea. Can salt water from the sea used for agriculture by any chance? And I'll leave it there. I mean, the salt content of the seawater. Can that water be used directly to pour on the plants down? And I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Yes, sir. I tried.
Thank you, caller.
Okay.
Yeah, he's gone. Go ahead.
In terms of salt water, you can't put salt water directly on plants. There are processes in the plant. So we've been using the term reverse osmosis, but through regular osmosis and through other processes, plants bring water through their roots and into the plant. And the salt balance can affect that process. So instead of water entering the plant, if there's more salts in the soil, then it becomes difficult for the plant to bring that water into itself. Water actually might want to leave the plant. It's like if people would put salt on frogs or salt on slugs. You can force them to basically dehydrate externally, and so you can also cause some issues with your plants. So most plants are not adapted to high salinity conditions, although we have genetically modified plants to grow in areas with greater salinity. It's not the ideal approach to dealing with plants and irrigation. Even some treated water, if the salt content is too high, can be a problem for the soil. So soil salinity is a concern when we use aquifer water that might have a higher salt content, and definitely we absolutely cannot consider seawater for watering our plants.
Yes, but Kenisha was making a point, so we're going to have to hold the call and let her, because she didn't get a chance to finish the
The
point.
wine picks up by the devil.
Yes.
Well, the devil's copper one, if you hike the area and go through the area, you see evidence of pigs, you smell the evidence of pigs, and so in terms of the habitat and its function there, it's being compromised. There's also been, when we've had some earthquakes and when we've had heavy rains, some landslides in the area, the actual copper that we visualized, there's a lot more rock and plant material in there, so you'd be very cautious. You would have to be very cautious to want to explore that one right there. But in terms of, I cannot speak to what is actually affecting the recharge in that area. There is a possibility we might need to do some more geological surveys, hydrogeological surveys, to understand if there's been any shifts, any break in that catchment that allows the water to leak out. So there's a lot of things that change over time, and we can't always revisit an area. In terms of coastal wells, wells that were near the coast, because of our use of water from those wells, as Mr. Robinson mentioned, there's also a density difference between fresh and salt water. And so as we remove that fresh water, as was indicated, salt water wants to rise into that column. In terms of access to water, the World Health Organization has limits to the amount of salt allowed in potable water. And there might be concerns of various things entering those wells. I do not know why those wells are closed, but we do know that there have been issues where some of the coastal wells in Lake Handley's or Gingerland area have gone dry, or there's the potential for intrusion, and we don't want that, because if too much salt water rises in that well, because we overuse the fresh water, it can affect neighboring plants in terms of the water table in the general area too. So lots of considerations are made as to whether you keep a system open or closed based on historic use from the past. So
Thank you. All right. Is it called?
Let's see if this call is here. Caller, good morning, you on? Caller, go ahead, please.
Good morning everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Bonjour.
Mr. Robinson, how are you doing this morning?
Doing
This
well,
is
thank
Judy.
you.
This is Judy. Okay. Question. The reservoir at the top of Jessup's, like above the Andersons, when you're going into Bansdot, when you're going up to Tower Hill.
Yes.
That reservoir still used?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Number 2. Do you know that there's a well in Jessup's right down to the foot of the road?
Going down towards Mangoes?
No, it's behind right there next to culture, not culture, the another bar there. See Hustler Bar. There's a lady, there's a house right there. Someone was living there, and there's a well right there in that yard.
Okay.
You don't know about
I
you
don't.
don't know about that
No.
one. It's right there. It's right there. Right on the main road, right by the road. There's a well right there. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. We're going to try to
Thank you.
investigate that.
All right. Thank you, caller.
Okay, thank you.
One of the things I wanted to say about wells, that's why I asked the caller, because, again, those of us who grew up and the wells, and I think in some countries they still have wells of that size. I see videos all the time in India where they dig those wells and they're able to put in the blocks and stuff and so on. We have moved away from those type of wells. And so when we say wells, when I say well, our wells, biggest casing is maybe 14 inches. Yeah, so we're not gonna have no 14 feet, those big type wells. I think they kind of died a slow death over the years in terms of development, construction. There's a well, you look down, there's no water, because we started using them as our landfills at some point. People just dump trash down inside of them. And, we had no system in place in terms of preservation, So, yes, those wells could probably serve a purpose if they were maintained. But unfortunately and stuff, we have moved away and we have better sources, and so we never looked back to see, well, for historical purposes, if this is something that should be preserved, for whatever value it might have in that respect. As we are going forward now with water resource management, we are trying our best, because one of the things that we try to do, groundwater management is not an easy thing, okay? The couple years ago when they had World Water Day, one of the motto was making the invisible visible, because you're down there, you have no idea. We punch a hole here 10 feet away, it could be a whole different geology, it could be a whole different experience. And so what we try to do with all the different boreholes we have that are not being used for production is where we're putting our monitors to see what's going on. Just yesterday we installed one down Hickman side, the back of Hickman's, and we basically check for the water table level. That's an important thing in terms of, again, the balance between the saltwater intrusion and all that stuff, and how much water we have, because we are skimming off that water. And if we end up, based on the lack of rainfall, and that water is being replenished by rainfall. So we now have to keep, so that's, so backing up, so we now have to know how much rain is falling, okay? We have to know where it's falling, obviously. We have, over the years, we have identified our aquifer areas and our recharge areas. So we are trying to get re-engaged in that areas to start to say, okay, how much rain is falling? The question about the runoff, that's a whole different story too in terms of the wells and calculating that. Whatever makes its way down in the ground, we have to see what it's doing. And over the years, you see, it moves. I mean, of course, when it get drier, the table drops, but not to the point of panic, yeah? But we have to monitor it, because as we are digging more wells and that's pumping at a higher rate, like I said, we used to be happy with 30 gallons a minute. Now we're too upset if we don't get 300 gallons a minute. You know, the one that we did in Madness the other day, that's how close to over 500,000 gallons a day. We're really excited about that. So we are kind of moving, and maybe that migration towards development, as I mentioned earlier with New Visions, where we stopped doing the cistern, maybe technically the water utility suffered a little bit from that, where we had things that used to work for us and, you know, that ain't doing nothing for us now. But it has its value. So what we have done in terms of the boreholes that are not production wells, we're putting on units to see what's going on. We're checking for temperature, we're checking for totally dissolved solids, salinity. The salinity speaks again to the saltwater intrusion. The wells in Padlock and Hickman's, we knew when George Morris, when I worked with George Morris back in the day, he used to live in the area, and he could tell, people could tell him when we're running the Hickman wells, water just tastes different.
Can you just tell you know, let our listeners know where your Padlock is? Some people might be wondering.
Padlock, down Zion Hill, straight down to off to the right.
Below Five Fields.
Because yeah. You have to help with the general names, you know, because I'm from Tonga, I don't know about
the Five Fields, well, you know, I know, but some person might be wondering where is Padlock, you know?
And those were wells that were dug again by Canada back in the 80s.
Yes.
So the Padlocks. So Padlock and stuff, and
Careful.
Yeah, easy. Okay. Yes.
Apologies. And so those wells were done back in the 80s. They were coastal because, again, technology such that 200 feet could have been done. Now we got technology could go at 800 feet, so we're moving away from the ocean. Because the water is the same water. When people talk about the water in Nelson Spring, for example, that water is migrating coming down the mountainside there. And what we are now finding out and having techniques better to do is to catch the water earlier. It's the same water. Now, doing that without affecting what's happening down below. Because there are people who still down below depend on agriculture, the commercial, you know, businesses and stuff. So this unit is really trying to put all those pieces together so that we could say, hey, when we have a question about a development or something, we could say, yes, yeah or nay, or what will be required to do that. One of the things we're trying to do is to get agriculture off the potable supply and back to these non-potable supply, the dams, the springs and stuff and so on.
What happened down for the Four Seasons? It can be replicated elsewhere?
It can. And like I said, there's one over in the Potworks area, but it's just that the farming over there has kind of subsided, and we've been having the conversation. I mean, I think if Ras Ira hears me now, he can say, hey, hold on, because he's been asking for that to be developed. They have different projects. You have small grants project, Jeff, number of different things. And I think the challenge is that also you have so many different projects and so many people, you know, knocking on the doors. It is a little challenge managing. So the big projects are the ones who kind of get the response, but we are working to smooth that out. Like I said, the unit's only about 6 years old. We're just now trying to get a baseline in place. One of the things we realized from the rainfall is that I'm not sure we're getting less rainfall, we're getting shorter rainfall. But you see when the rain come down hard.
Yes.
And quick. In 2 tools, you see the guts start to run. So, again, I don't have all the full data to support that. But that's a good thing in the fact that we're not getting less water, but it comes so quickly and runs off so fast now because we have harder surfaces. When we talk about over the hill Shefter, we don't have all them asphalt road and concrete road.
That is true.
No, the rain hits up by the Horsford's area and stuff. Next thing back got overflowed. So a lot of more runoff now from the amount of rainfall we're getting. It changes the whole dynamics, and we got to figure the surface water, like Red Ox, you know, we got to catch that. So studies are being done, but human capacity and again a small island state, we got to keep asking out externally, boy, help us here, check this out. We end up having 4 different projects that has 3 things overlapping. You know, we have some redundancy sometimes that we really can't control, but we making an effort to really deal with it. And the fact that there's an institution now to do that, because when I was manager of the water department, we talked about water resources management, but the water resource management unit is really supposed to be the regulator for all these users. So I couldn't be the manager of the water department and regulate it myself. So now that the separation has been made, then now we could try to get. So just start the 200-meter run, we about a meter out of the blocks, you know, yeah.
The last caller identified, told you about a well that you say you didn't know about.
Right.
Is there a way where, people in the island can call and say where wells are that you all might not know of?
Oh, definitely. And that speaks to the number that the caller was asking for, the previous caller was asking for. The number that I have, and it's just easy to call the government exchange switchboard and ask for water department. And that's true for even the water quality testing. And they do test. If consumers want the system to be tested, we do that. I think the other thing about the system, and he asks about age of water, if water spoils, one of the things is that we have become more conscious now. So where we used to brush the regulars away in the drum, Chef, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing that anymore.
No.
Because we're not more health conscious.
That's a thing of the past.
You know? So those are some of the things. And sometimes we have a joke about it sometimes when I speak to in areas where they're older folks, and they'll insist because, look, I'll be still make it, I'll be sure I'll never get sick. Sure, but we can't sell that now.
Standards have changed.
So they have changed. So the water department is available for testing. They have their own lab. What people are doing in terms of a first minor, well not minor, but protection is filters. So from the pump to the cistern, it goes to a household filter, and you check. You are even having your little test strips now that you could do your tests in your homes. So people have these little things that they could do.
Good morning, caller. You in the good old days.
Back to one of the questions Mr. Robinson answered about what the research away.
Okay.
What I got from the question the caller was asking, and which I was concerned about too, is the quality of the water that would have been under the St. Thomas's Primary School. I don't think you're gonna have regulation in that case like that, because the water gets crazy or gets in any way. I don't think that water is gonna be good. I think Sir Robinson said that he pumped it out.
Yes, I did.
It's like I would have figured to pump it out, clean the area, and get it refilled. So that's more that I feel. I am thinking that. Well, that's what I was concerned about, and I believe that's what his caller was concerned about as well, and not about regulars and stuff. I mean, we know if we see regulars and so we know what happened.
No difference.
But we're talking about. I was thinking about the water under the school, in the section under the school, the classroom in the school.
Yes, scholar, and I appreciate that. And sometimes it's to steal something from another station about the light moment. We're not just talking about regulars. We're talking about any kind of contamination. And yes, so the water was pumped out from inside the system at St. Thomas's School. Of course, there was silt, a little bit of silt in there. I do still have videos because I was surprised relatively for 50 years how clean it was. Relatively in terms of the lack of...
That was what I was getting at.
And not the quality, I didn't test it to see. Because, maybe as exercise I should have done that. But in terms of the cistern itself, they want any trash down there. They want any, of course, the silt, that whatever will land on the roof and the water washes that off.
In other words, it looked like natural water and that was it, but you just didn't test it.
We didn't test it because we weren't going to use it, and I could have tested it to have a conversation and say, boy, 50 years old water had X amount and stuff and so on. That would have been just more for a conversation.
For the records. Because eventually that's what you use to, when you're doing studies, that's what you use.
The
records.
True, point accepted.
Yeah.
Point accepted. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But going forward, we will not want to keep it for 50 years. So.
And so the agent is because your system is really water is being turned over. You're using some, the rain comes, replenishes it. Yes, there's a certain layer because we tend to think that water mixes. Water don't necessarily mix in a big system. When we have, for example, those tanks that we have to design the inlet such that if we are chlorinating, for example, you know, that the inflow comes in a way that it mixes up the water to get the chlorine all mixed up. Because you could have dead zones in an area where water seems to be running in. And the water is just, that section of the water just sits there when new water comes in and just leave. So there's a whole design factor that goes with that. But in addition to your tests, Water Department does monthly tests on all the pump heads, the well heads, all the tanks, standpipes at certain location. So basically at the start of the system, and we find the most extreme area, the dead ends of the system, the ends of the system, and they test to make sure that chlorine. Now, quickly about chlorine, because a lot of people don't like the smell of chlorine whenever we're doing this, but that's a basic WHO requirement for potable water, and it's just it's a precaution. If something gets away in our water, we have a first line of defense.
But when you smell chlorine, though, when you smell that aroma, is it a problem?
If we drink it? Yeah. Well, and not really per se, because chlorine burns off. And I say, Mr. Wiss wants to, and I don't know what to jump in at that.
Okay. In terms of chlorination, our water comes from aquifers, okay? Chlorination presents an issue when there's a high organic matter content, so maybe leaf material, broken down organic matter inside the water. Chlorine, any residual chlorine, and I'll address that term in a second, any residual chlorine present in your system could react with organic matter and form some unsavory compounds. They call them THL, so THM, so your trihalomethanes and compounds like that, which could be concerning, but our water comes from aquifers in Nevis in particular, so there's very low organic matter content. It's primarily there are salts, ions that you might have to be concerned about. There's the potential that if they were higher up, like we're going very deep, that you might have some material from the soil, fertilizers, etc., that can make their way deep down there, your nitrates and stuff. But for the most part, you look at the activities where we put our wells and where activities such as agriculture occur, and we recognize that there's no overlap, but as indicated, regular testing is done. When we chlorinate our system, we add enough chlorine to kill anything of concern there, and we add a bit of excess called residual chlorine. That residual chlorine is meant to go through the lines. As was mentioned, there are often breaks in our system, little breaks here and there, and if there's not enough pressure, microorganisms can make their way in through the pipes. And so we want to maintain a certain pressure. It's mostly of concern, like when we have to turn off water for some reason, because there's no pressure in the system, these microbes can enter any breaks in the pipe, and then you want your residual chlorine in the system to kill off anything else. So you have your primary chlorine treatment at the tanks usually, and then this a bit of chlorine left over to deal with anything that could enter along the way. It is not shown to be harmful to human health, and it's been done now for more than a century in terms of chlorination. And so the only thing of concern, and again it would be measured, would be if there's organic matter in there, the reactions of chlorine with that organic matter. But in Nevis, it's not a concern for us.
And so drinking water straight from the top. It's
okay. Yeah, it's healthy.
It's
nobody
okay.
dies from drinking Nevis water.
The only thing that people, I guess, the taste though, because of the hardness of the water, it's a challenge. So people have kind of migrated to the bottled water.
We water in Barbados. We use aquifers also.
Caller, good morning. You're on the good old days.
Yes, good morning. Good morning again. Question for the Mr. Robinson and the young lady, whoever can answer. I realize that if I catch water like in a bucket, I'm gonna catch some water in a bucket, something that I can see, or one of those contain enamel, those silver stuff. What they call them again? It's like a bowl, a big silver bowl or so, and I catch some water in there. The next day when I go back, there are a lot of white particles, and you can actually see them, and they are very hard in the water. What is that? What causes that?
The water from the pipe you're talking about?
Yeah, the pipe water.
Oh, okay.
There's a few things that could cause that. If you're leaving there to settle, it might have had undissolved materials. It could sometimes be the pipe itself that is breaking down and entering the water, especially if you have old pipes in certain areas. Typically, though, that one looks more brownish if it's iron pipes, but we can have other materials that could come out in the water. You can also have undissolved substances, and they can be very fine. And so, but if you leave it to settle, you see them coagulate and come together at the bottom and build up. Again, there's not
No,
much.
it's not at the bottom, you know. Sometimes it's
floating?
all over in the. It's all no, but it's all over in the container on the sides, all around.
I think
Next time I see it, I'm gonna do a video of it or a photo, and I'm gonna show it to Mr. Robin.
you're talking about after you have now emptied the container, that's what's left. You see white
Yeah.
materials on the stuff.
But even if the water is in there, even if the
Okay.
water is in there, you can actually see them.
The water that we have is and when we refer to hardness in water, it depends on the chemistry. So calcium carbonate is one of the biggest thing when it comes to our geology. Yeah, volcanic is what I was looking for. The volcanic geology, you tend to have that kind of stuff. And that water that's making its way down from the mountain underground to the ocean is passing through all these materials. So it picks up stuff. There's reaction. It's not bad for your health, but when the water sits there, and especially when it evaporates, your faucets and stuff, there's always a reaction going on.
Well, like if you boil your water,
You
you
boil
might
your
see that
water, you
extra
see
white
the stuff,
starting
start
soon.
coming out and stuff. So,
In Barbados, we don't have the volcanoes or mountains that you.
but your
These are
limestone.
We have the same breakdown.
Yeah,
as
but
we
they are
talked about.
white milky stuff, you know.
Yeah,
Milky
that's the
stuff.
color of calcium carbonate
Hard
actually.
white stuff.
Does it? Yeah.
You some medication when you go there ask you to shake it up. You have certain medication back in the day that you have to shake it
like
because
sediments,
it doesn't dissolve completely. But so when the material is sitting, when the medication is sitting, you see a clear at the top and white at the bottom. You have to shake it for the benefits. It's not as extreme as that, but that's basically what's going on. The calcium carbonate is just something precipitating in terms of coming out of solution in the water.
But you wanna add
But that's not healthy for you.
No,
No, it's
it's
not
not
harmful.
harmful. It's
It's
okay.
not
That is not harmful. It just
It's a way
doesn't
of
look.
getting calcium actually in your diet.
Yeah.
All right.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. As a matter of fact,
I
caller,
wouldn't do that.
I'll tell you
don't
this.
think it-
I'll tell you this. The people in Tibet, I read this some years ago, where the glaciers are right there. When they start melting, the so-called milky water, when you look at the age of the folks in that area, per capita, they have the oldest people in that area, and they attribute it to that milky water. And that is what, as the manager of the water department, I mean, I used to drink the water, but I started drinking our calcium carbonate water because I was looking to add some age. But nothing is that harmful. I promise you that.
All right. Thank you, caller.
I still won't drink it.
All right. No, Robinson, you made reference to shaking the medication. They say you shake before you take it.
Yeah.
Well, the story was told about somebody that got that kind of prescription from their doctor, right? And rather than shaking the medicine, they shake themselves.
English is a funny language, eh?
Well, it's now midday.
Yes.
This has been generating so much interest that we need a part two.
That is the problem.
Floyd, what do you say?
Well, Floyd knows that he couldn't. No one comes to the good old days once. So, and this is Kenisha's second turn. So
No, not second man. She been here a couple of times.
well, so there you go.
Yeah.
And you only come back to the good old days because he did a good job.
Right. I mean, and it's an opportunity. We keep talking about the public education, and obviously this again, when we had the public consultation, folks didn't want to go home. And I'm always willing. I mean, if we had more time for this station, I'll keep talking. But
People like to have information.
Yeah.
And I think it's the right thing.
Yes, sir.
It has been a morning well spent and much information, and so I keep looking at my screen here, and I keep looking at my screen, but I hesitate to share a lot of comments. I just want to apologize to the persons who would have made comments. I mean, it's not I wasn't really ignoring you, but information
Flowing.
was so good and it was flowing, so that I didn't want to interject. I just want to let Floyd know that your classmate sends greetings, Ian Taylor.
Okay.
Ian Taylor. And then I see that Corvin Wilkie, one of our regulars, he did ask that I send advance birthday greetings to his second son, Corvin Jr., who makes 20 tomorrow. So, advance birthday greetings to your son. Yes.
Well, big up to Ian. I mean, yeah, my classmates
Yes.
from high school up, And this whole thing, like I said about water, I'm always willing to talk about it because there is so much that people simply don't understand. Some of the reasons, hey, why we move from one well to a next, and you see me trying to get a clarification. When you say well, what are you talking about? Because again, the term carries different language.
Yes.
I've been on stations, and when people see water running, they say a lot of water. When you quantify it compared to something else, it is not so much. And so a lot of what we do now, I guess, is cost benefit. We're not going to put money into something that can only give you, a small amount compared to something bigger. And I think one of the challenge that we have as older folks, we remember what it used to be, but that's out of different eyes and a different perspective. And so, but it's still the challenge of the agency to now differentiate those things and educate people as to why we are saying this versus what used to be said now. So there's a part. I tell you this real quick. When we had when B dug some wells back in 2008, there were 3 wells, and the reason why the contract was so appealing is that they said if they don't find the water that we're asking for, there's no charge. So they did all the stuff up front on the survey. You can't run away from that. But then of course we had to pay them over a period of time. So they came in, they did all the investment, and they said, okay, we got the water, and we did that. And I remember people saying that, we're giving away the resources, and we're doing this and we're doing that. And I had to meet people on the street and explain, well, when we have a house and we live in the house, it's not really our house yet. If we miss a payment, the bank coming for you, And there was no way we're going to put ourselves in trouble to say that we have a resource that somebody could come and take away from us. Yeah, and so the explanation and stuff, the questions are definitely welcome. I have no, maybe next time we could actually get somebody from water department to come in.
Okay, take this call. This is the last call probably. Good morning, caller. You're in the good old days.
Hi, good morning. I don't want to talk to you.
Cousin Gwen, ask a question.
I ain't got no question to
I wonder who you want to talk to, Daddy.
Everybody know who you want to talk to. Everybody know who you want to talk to. So come on, Paul. Let your voice be heard.
Making Paul blushing, man.
Paul, what you doing? What you doing to me, man? What you doing to me?
I don't know.
This is the first time Paul has been speechless.
When the question is turned around, is what you're doing to him?
Okay. Anyway, Paul, I want to wish you a safe flight home. Okay.
Thank you very much.
And you take care of yourself and hurry back to me.
I will be that for sure.
I'll still send my greetings even though I don't see you. All right.
Okay, thank you.
And say hi to Ray when you get home. Okay.
Right,
take
you very
care.
much. Thanks.
You're welcome. Ren, and I'm done. I don't want to talk to nobody else.
Thank you much, Gwen. Thank you so much. You and I will talk another time.
All right, Gwen.
All right. Well,
we will always be here. So
we have gone past the midday. But can you say any final word? And then Paul is part of the team, so he's going to say thanks and his final words until.
I just want to say thank you for the two guests this morning. I don't think it should be guests. I think it should be a regular, and considering the project is now ongoing, I think you should come at least once every other week. On a serious note, to edify persons of what's going on, what's really entailed in terms of water management and water resource management, water harvesting.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't touch a lot of stuff. One
Yeah,
of the
so-
things you look at in terms of that is, what do we do? We talked about the runoff water on the roads, and we talked about the guts. They're separate things.
Yeah.
Runoff water on the roads should not go into the natural environment untreated either. And so there's strategies to deal with that to mitigate flood as well as to treat it before it enters any natural water body.
I didn't know that.
So there's a lot. There's a lot.
Home by me, when water run at the bottom of the hill,
Yeah.
when the water comes, I make sure I get it for my plants.
Okay.
And your plants are treating them, so that's a good thing. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Floyd. Thanks, Kenisha, once again.
You're more than welcome.
Appreciate
and,
it. As
yeah,
we say, we're going to have to do a part 2.
not a problem.
It can be next week or
3, 4.
if what do you say?
Well,
Okay. We'll see.
Well, let's give him time to think about-
We'll see how it goes.
Let's get him time to think about it, Chesley.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right then. Okay.
But suffice it to say, we are absolutely grateful for the sacrifice that you've made to be here on a Saturday morning. For us, it's we know we have to be here, so it's not a sacrifice for us anymore. But for you, we thank you. And Kenisha, I know you've been here and you've been absolutely brilliant in terms of disseminating information and the science of the whole thing, and we're so thankful to you. Floyd has been trying to make some excuses this morning about he don't live here and he don't live there, but he knows this whole on is like he know the palm of his hand. So I just wanted to know, Floyd, that when it comes to water, we trust you completely, and congratulations for not only harnessing the knowledge for yourself, but being able to disseminate it to a point where we can understand and come to terms with what's going on with our water, and we trust you completely. Thank you so much.
Right.
Well, I want to say real quick, I mean, that trust is unused. I guess I'm just maybe a figurehead, but I got a whole team of folks behind me, especially on the water department side.
Well, we see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And thank you to your team also. Huh?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Miss,
Louis.
not Miss Lewis, Miss Environmental.
Oh, okay.
Environmentalist.
No, I think what you do in terms of presenting the information is educational. You want to listen and understand it. I think we really need to get a bit more from her in terms of the wetlands and the seriousness of it, the degradation, the areas too. Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank Kenisha too for coordinating, for helping to coordinate today's program.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right. All right. So to all our listeners, to all our viewers, I want to say thank you for being part of today's good old days. Continue to enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your weekend. All right. And may the week coming up be a productive one for you. All right. So until next week, ciao.
And we like to say take care of yourself and each other.
Yeah.
We're out for today. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.